r/AskReddit, what's the weirdest thing you've ended up in the hospital for? I reached into a washing machine and got bit by the bat that was sleeping in there. I had to have the rabies vaccine series. New fear unlocked. Did anal when I was a teen and thought I broke my butthole. It was just a fissure. My poor grandma took me to the hospital after she saw blood in the toilet bowl and garbage. Very embarrassing. Doctor knew why I was there, my poor grandma did not. I've never told this story out loud. LOL, don't be so quick to judge. She may very well know exactly what had caused that. Grandma was your age once. Had a cricket climb into my ear while I was sleeping. It got stuck and was biting my eardrum. 10/10 pain, do not recommend. Welp, I'm not sleeping tonight or ever again. I really wish I hadn't read this. Delete this, nephew. Oh, back in 2019 I got bitten by a squirrel in North London, smiley face. Damn. Anything happen after that, LMAO? Or did you just move on and hope for the best? I cracked my pelvis and didn't realize it at one point, and the crack got a fungal infection, which grew the crack apart and wider. Pulled my leg out of the socket, couldn't walk. But in short, it was an infection in my bone. A bone infection. A fungal bone infection. I was kicked in the shin by a robot. It broke my skin hard enough that required several stitches to close it. Scotty doesn't know. Kyle Reese. I managed a paper cut across my eyeball. Yup. Only one so far to make me flinch. Yikes, sorry that happened. How the heck did that happen? Transient global amnesia. It was like my brain froze and had to reboot. Lasted 6 hours, then complete recovery as if nothing had ever happened. Utterly bizarre. This is frightening. Do they know what caused it? I developed a patch of eczema in my vagina. It was such a rare case they flew in a specialist from Germany to excise it. I still have a crater in my hoo-ha. Nothing like having an issue so rare, it takes several doctors to figure out what to do. Been there. Not sure if having your chest cracked or your hoo-ha sliced is worse, but I feel yat. AHH. How did it heal? Do you still have lasting pain? This is terrifying. Not me, but my ex got so high, he thought he was choking on a chicken bone. He was vomiting, so just to be safe I had to call 911. He told me after he was passed out in a chair in the ER most of the time, and a guy was like, "At least I ain't chair guy over there." Total facial retching and uncontrollable spasms to the point where my jaw was locking shut and I was foaming at the mouth and almost biting my tongue. It wasn't a seizure but a result of being allergic to my new gastrointestinal meds. Husband rushed me to ER cause my whole face was freezing up and ticking. They put me on a heavy drip of Benadryl and kept me for about 5 hours to get my muscles to stop working and relax. Had the worst jaw pain and headache for days after and even chipped a tooth. OMG. Panic attack thinking it's a heart attack. I second this. Happens more times than you think. Don't know if I could call it weird. Bitten by a brown recluse. What was it like being bit by a brown recluse? Was play wrestling with my ex-GF and then though we stopped. Started to clean my earwax with a Q-tip and she didn't realize what I was doing and comes from behind and pushes me into the wall, which jams the Q-tip too deep and pierces my eardrum. Started bleeding immediately and ended up in the ER. Didn't end up being anything with lasting damage, but it was a weird feeling having my ear canal filled with dried blood. When it fully healed it all came out at once, which strangely felt great. When I was 17 I fell in love very intensely and had these crazy stomach sensations at random during the day. It kept on for a few weeks, and me being a hypochondriac, I fell down the WebMD loophole and got convinced I had stomach cancer. I hurried to the local emergency center only for the doctor to look at me up and down after I had explained and said, "Those are butterflies, he'll get you your discharge papers, good luck." Fungal bone infection would be a bitchin' band name. I felt like there were worms crawling through my brain and I thought I was going literally insane and having a psychotic episode. Turns out I am on the autism spectrum and have sensory issues. Holy shit. I'm on the spectrum too actually, and once I learned at 17 it explains so many things. The only time I've been to the A&E emergency department was because I got bit at work. No, I don't work with animals and I did shock a lot of the nurses that day. This is funny to me, because in my experience, nurses get bitten at work fairly regularly. They don't work with animals either. They could probably relate to your experience. You became part of the club. LOL. Descending colon epiploic appendicitis. Basically the fatty sacs in your colon get twisted. I have only met one other person who had it. And as soon as he was describing it I knew what he had. I had that, too. It was so weird describing it to people because they kept thinking I said appendicitis. It was the weirdest pain. I did get time off of work and a prescription for Percocet, so I guess it wasn't all bad. The time when I was 8 when I was mowing the grass and the mower shut off on me. I was warned that the mower would overheat and do that. So I tested to see if it was too hot by placing my palm on the muffler. An 8-year-old mowing the grass is the problem. Had to get a bullet vibrator removed from my colon when I was an inexperienced teenager. It was still vibrating when it came out. Broken PP. A fucking what? It's not weird but it's embarrassing, all said and told. I called 911 the first time I threw out my back. Now it's just something that happens from time to time and I take Motrin and suck it up. I used to throw my back out regularly every few months. Then I herniated a disc and had surgery. I haven't had back pain in over 4 years now. In retrospect, I think I had a bulging disc. Getting attacked by a wild pheasant. An anvil fell on my head, I'm not even kidding. I had a small 6-pound anvil up on a shelf and I bumped the shelf and the anvil fell off right onto my head. I felt fine at the time but after a while got a bad headache and neck pain so I went to the hospital and I had pretty bad post-concussion syndrome. It threw off my balance and hand-eye coordination for a good month probably. Definitely the weirdest way I've ended up in a hospital. Damn, you wily coyote yourself lol. I tore my then boyfriend's frenulum while I was on top. Ah yes. I forgot about this. When I first started having sex, I went too hard and tore it by myself. It was bleeding for like 3 days, and me being a shy and dumb 16-year-old, didn't do anything about it. Septicemia caused by a new tattoo. What a stupid way to face death. Bead stuck up nose. The weirdness level varies based on how old you were. Went to the ER because I thought I was having a gallbladder attack. They do a scan and find cancer on my right kidney. Plus my gallbladder was turning gangrene. I pulled the cams half out of a 90s Cadillac engine and left the gear on the end of it. It was laying on the ground so I popped it up like you would a skateboard by the gear and the other end of the cam flipped up and hit me in the shin and sliced me wide open. Stitches. Abdominal abscess. A week after we came home from driving to Florida I thought it was a hernia and went to a surgeon and was waiting for a CAT scan. Literally 3 days later my stomach was black and purple and I sent a pic to my surgeon for her to tell me to go to ER immediately. Ended up emergency surgery with 4 cups of drainage and I was septic when I arrived. Crazy. I knocked my sister into the fireplace cracking her head open. Our neighbor, a firefighter, calmly handed my mom a towel and drove them to the emergency room like it wasn't a big deal. He's why there's no song called Fuck the Fire Department. Sister is fine and if there's still a scar it's covered by hair. Fell over getting out of bed by stepping on a bottle, did the splits, and split open my scrotum, had to get stitches and injections to make it numb, it didn't make it numb enough lol. Dang, hope you are doing okay now. My balls just decided they wanted to twist around each other while I was at work one time. Suddenly it just felt like someone kicked me in the rocks, and they never took their foot away. I've been terrified of this since the first season of The Venture Brothers.